we begin this episode, I want to take a moment and to say something personal. This isn't just any episode or any topic that we're going to basically look into today. I'm actually experiencing parental alienation myself, and it's one of the most emotionally complex and painful things I've ever had to face. Watching your bond with your child fade, not because of neglect or harm, but because of manipulation, silence, or systems that don't listen, is a kind of grief that it's hard to explain. And yet millions of parents, mothers and fathers alike go through this every day, often behind closed doors, and very few people believe in you. This episode isn't about blame. It's about asking questions, the hard questions. What happens when one's parent is erased from a child's life? Who really is being protected in these moments? And who's being overlooked? I've chosen to speak up, not just for myself, but for every parent who feels voiceless and every child caught in the middle of something they didn't ask for.
Right, my name is John. I'm a trustee of the shared parenting charity Both Parents Matter. My professional background is that I'm an academic sociologist. My background in this organisation was that many years ago I had the sole care, or nearly the sole care, of our two young babies whose mother was not able to look after them. But we went out acrimoniously, and even though she had not had a whole day in sole charge of them without my being on call, she was allowed to abduct them to France. After several years, when they were old enough to choose where they want to live, they came back to live with me. The daughter until her second university year in London, and the son until he was 26, by which time I was quite happy to for him to move away. The term parental alienation was first introduced by an American psychotherapist who claimed it was a syndrome, a parental alienation syndrome, and tried to get it defined as a mental illness. It was rejected as a mental illness. It never was a syndrome. And often you find people saying it doesn't exist or it isn't recognized. And this is a weaponization of an event long, long ago. The phenomenon I've just said is that children pick up from a parent. She, not always she, but mostly she, doesn't want to see doesn't want her children to see the other parent. But best to not use the word parental alienation. Use occasionally it's coaching, but sometimes it's entirely unconscious. Children are very good at picking up the feelings of their parents and voicing them as if they were their own.
A parent does that, and a parent, not basically a mum, generally just a parent.
Yeah, no, it's a hard thing because, again, I know some men that are like, if I'm not seeing my child, I'm not paying the maintenance, which I'm just like, who's that really hurting? Mm-hmm. It's like, your child isn't a Netflix subscription. They're still living, they're still breathing, they're still going to school, they're still picking up bills, doing all those sorts of stuff. And it's interesting because I have some friends that are single mothers that their dads are not great and they do a lot for their child and they try to actually protect their child from knowing the nonsense that their dad does and still allows the father to see them, even though he says, I'm going to come see them on Saturday. Saturday comes and goes. The child's like, where's dad? And the mum lies and says, oh, do you know what? I didn't say, dad did say to me that he wasn't going to make it. These times, you'd not say nothing. And just want to come into their life and come out and then get angry and do the big I am. But it's just like, if you're not here, and actually I'm having to lie to our child now because I don't want to put you in a bad light, then is that child abuse too? Like, it works both ways. And I know you said like for both the parents, but yeah, I mean, it's hard because I feel like some people have children, not for the wrong reasons. I don't want to say that, but the reason why you had it, everyone's grown up, right? And everyone has the life that they've lived and the childhood they've grown up, and there's some inner work that people have to do that some people don't do. And then you've had a child, you're still dealing with your inner work or not dealing with it, and then that somehow kind of gets put on the child, and they're growing up with their stuff and your stuff put on top, and then you've got two parents that are doing that, then aren't talking, arguing, co-parenting, probably not the best. And I sometimes feel like some people have children because they're like, I mean, we're together, we've been together for a while, we've got a house, we just go on holidays now, let's have a baby. Or some people have said to me, yeah, but you know, when I grow old, who's gonna look after me? And I'm like, it's not a real reason. I mean, it's a real reason, but that's not the best reason to have a child. So I feel like a lot of people not working on their self, and that means that their stuff gets put on the child. And so that just makes it difficult. And then some
The answer is no. It is actually obviously a form of abuse in that it's a denial of a child's rights to family life and to the input of the parent with whom they do not mainly live. It has to be said, of course, that there is child abuse.
Yeah.
There is domestic abuse of the other partner. If there's child abuse, obviously the excluded parent very rightly has a cliff to climb in order to get contact. If it's abuse of the other parent, we say that the welfare of the child should be the primary consideration, but emphasis should be made on all those things that can be done to protect the abused parent, including handover arrangements such that they never need to meet. The courts do not define parental alienation. They prefer the term parental alienating behaviours, which is action on behalf of the parent who has the primary care of the children to induce them, sometimes unintentionally, to say that they don't want to see their excluded parent. So it's best not to use the word parental alienation, but use the word alienating behaviours. But in fact, it's part of an abuse of parenting, because where would children be if they didn't trust their carers most of the time? And when actually the main carer says that the excluded parent is a wicked man or a wicked parent, or it's not good to them to see them, or even they pick up hostility or alarm at their parents and the children seeing him, that is that can cause this form of abuse, which is to stop the children seeing their excluded parents.
Yeah, I feel parental alienation, I feel that is a form of child abuse, because when a child is arriving into the world, you need to show them the way. That's why I work from home. I'm a stay-at-home dad.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So
You're a stay-at-home dad because
I like to be around my children. I don't like the whole idea of going to work for a corporation or anything like that. I like to feel that I'm working for myself, for my family, to feed them, and also to make sure that I'm around. Because I feel like if I'm out, I get up at, say, I have worked, and now and again I do get a mainstream job, so to speak. But I really feel it's about keeping it in your family and making sure that they're first before everything else, and you're not spending your time out in Babylon all day working for them, and then you hardly got change in your pocket at the end of it, and then you're going home with a little bit of change you got left from the day to just quickly eat your food, maybe not even digest it properly, go to bed, and then the same thing again the next day. I ain't got time for that. I like to, make sure we're okay, and she makes sure we're okay as well. And my wife, she's just in the shop, and that's what I feel is a foundation for the household, you know,
Perfect.
and to make sure that the children grow up in the best way I see fit, you know, because everyone's got their own opinion of how they would raise their child. I'm not going to test that. I'm just saying, you know, that's how I do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, respect. No, I hear that, buddy. Yeah.
My wife.
See it. Yeah. Shout out. Black love and all that. It's getting me. How long you guys been together?
3 years coming
Nice.
up. Yeah.
Perfect. You
Yeah.
get me. So then, based on that, the court doesn't recognize it as a form of child abuse.
It
But-
meets the tests
Yeah.
for being of child abuse.
By the court, yeah?
But court doesn't rule on that particular aspect.
Interesting.
The interesting thing is that the concentration should be on whether the child would benefit from the involvement of their other of the other parent.
Excluded parent,
But
yeah.
the direct link with a form of child abuse is obvious, but not generally usable.
So in layman terms, the court doesn't acknowledge it? Or it does?
I think it's up to the judges whether they do or not, but there
Okay.
is nothing laid down in law or in a practice direction from in the family courts that says this is a form of child abuse, but it meets all the day-to-day tests for that.
Yeah, I hear that. Thank you.
In regards to your question whether parent alienation is child abuse, I think absolutely. Absolutely. It's more than child abuse. It's psychological abuse as well. It's something that creates abandonment issues. It's something that creates a lack of unity between a parent. So typically what ends up happening is, especially as men, you know, we gravitate towards mummy, understandably. And when there is parent alienation, typically, like, you know, like where a woman says you can't see your you and all of that, it makes the child grow up for a long time just believing mum's side, creates a resentment towards a parent. And then by the time you realize that there's two sides to a story, there is a level of estrangement typically, you know? And I think that's horrible. And I think also that contributes towards why everyone is so confused, you know? You have a mother and you have a father for a reason. And, you know, typically, a father is going to demonstrate their love through discipline and protection and guidance. A man who educates is a man who loves, you know? Women are nurturers, you know? They're healers. And collectively, that creates a very strong unity. And one without the other is pointless and it's incomplete, you know? If you're a complete healer without education, then you're going to be somebody who's going to be manipulated all the time. You're going to be somebody who is always being, their kindness is always being taken for weakness. That's going to probably lead to depression. Somebody who don't have that healing capabilities and lacks emotional intelligence and only relies on discipline, they're typically someone who gains resentment and they have a lack of empathy for people, you know? So it's needed. You need to, you know? And I think the problem is,
And I used to think like, oh, you know, the younger, people always say like, oh no, some people say having children younger is better because then when you're older, you can do what you want, you're an adult now and they're kind of grown up, they can look after themselves, and now you can go out and party. But then I know a lot of older mothers, because again, if it's past 35, you're a geriatric mother, which is just silly. But when you're an older mother, some mothers, though they're more tired because they're older, they're also like, do you know what, I've done my inner work. And when I made the decision to have the child, I was ready to do that and make that decision. And I'm more patient and I talk to them in a certain way. And I have an understanding with the dad, or me and the dad are together and we're building this family unit. And so, yeah, I mean, everyone's an individual.
Yeah.
But I just sometimes, I understand that couples get together, couples get hurt and use their children to hurt the other person. And it, in hindsight, it doesn't help anyone because it's not going to make that woman or man feel any better by hurting the other person, and their child's going to see it, their child's going to feel it. And children are intuitive. They can feel it even if they can't see it. When parents are having arguments and it's not working, whether they're in hushed voices in the next room, children know. They can sense the tension. They're aware.
Yeah.
How common is that?
I think in the whole of separated parents, it's probably relatively uncommon. Most parents recognize the need of the children to see other parents.
Yeah.
When it comes to contested cases, it features a lot.
Okay. So then when they contest the case, what would that be, just in case people don't understand what that term is?
Where one parent doesn't allow the other parent full and free time with the children, or rather the children to have full and free time with their other parent, is a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
That is, most parents agree, amicably, because most parents are child-centered and put their best interests.
Yeah. Is the contesting, is that basically specifically just for when
Well, yes.
they're not basically accessing the child?
When they fail to come to a satisfactory agreement,
Yeah.
Mediation has failed, and they have to go to the courts to get a court order for contact.
Perfect.
That is what I call a contested case.
Perfect. Off the back of that,
The problem is that in today's society, men in general are so attacked. They're so attacked, and it just goes unnoticed, you know? And it's something in which there is such a desensitization to the attack on males that even when males complain about it, they are called sassy. There is usually some kind of way to justify why a man will go through such trials and tribulations or trauma or, you know, parent alienation. And if we don't speak up for ourselves, then no one will. That's the fundamental important thing, because as men, we think logically. We go through life today, but we think about tomorrow, you know? So usually with our children, we have the foresight, we have almost a project, a plan, you know? And man without purpose is almost no reason to live, you know? And you take away a man's purpose, you might as well strip that man of everything. And once a man has his child, that's typically his purpose.
They can sense the tension. They're aware. But sometimes people act like it's fine, and you don't know what you're talking about, which kind of slightly gaslights the child, thinking like, "Right, my intuition is telling me that something's not right here, but you're both telling me that it's fine." And then they grow up like, "Right, is that what love is?" Because in my house, that's what it was. And mum and dad were okay. They were cool, I guess. So when I now meet a woman or I now meet a man, it's cool for me to be like that and to shrug off and get in an argument because that's what my parents did. It's just cycles. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, no, negative. I hear that. What if basically mum was to say to the child, this is your dad? Why don't she just basically, what's the problem for her basically being honest?
Because I guess she can already see that child is already hurt, and she doesn't want to see that child any more hurt, really. It's already bad enough that you're not seeing your dad now, but to know that your dad just didn't turn up, that child just gonna think, oh, my dad doesn't want to see me, my dad doesn't love me, I'm not good enough.
But then lying is adding to it. Remember, what's gonna happen eventually is the child will find out the dad didn't want them. So you're still gonna basically you're prolonging the pain.
Sure, but I guess at that time, that's what that parent thought was the best thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say that they always do. I think when they get to teenage age, they're just like, it's your dad, come on, sort of thing. But yeah, when they're like 6 and 7, I mean, I guess you can tell them, but I don't know I don't know if that mother has not time, but if she's equipped to deal with what that then means with the conversation she's going to have that she can't answer because she's not the dad. So I can't tell you why your dad's not here. I can't tell you why he didn't call and explain why he wasn't here. And if that's another wormhole that she can't get into, so it's just easier for now just to act like it was an accident, But I'm pretty sure going forward, as they get older, you can't keep hiding that.
Oh, this is the thing. No, I get it. Yeah. All right then. Good.
Well, I'd say the legal rights the parents have in this situation no legal rights. It's the child that has the rights to see both of their parents. Having said that, whoever has the child in their charge can decide their relationship with other people without there being any comeback at any court. So it's not actually their legal right to do so, but the legal law will not stop them or rebuke them usually for doing that. It can only be overcome by a formal hearing in the family court.
Yes, okay.
Just to end on that, one thing I would advise is mothers. I understand that it's hard going through things alone. I understand that it's easy to take things personally when you have isms and schisms with your partner, baby father, or things like that. But understand that you didn't make that child by yourself, and also understand that the father loves the child just as much as the mum, you know? And if you can't make it work with the child's father, that's fine. But co-parenting is a must. And just always understand that you're hurting the child just as much as you're hurting your baby father. So if you truly love your children the way how you say you do, I'm very sure if any of you mothers was to be asked, do you love your child? It's gonna be met with a, what kind of question is that? But if you truly do love your child, then understanding that removing half of them, which would be the father, you're absolutely hurting the child and you're potentially creating irreparable damage. So I understand that, you know, you do have your slack baby fathers, and there are instances in which parent alienation is necessary if you analyze on an individual case-by-case basis, but collectively it does more harm than good. So I'm not going to be a man who says that collectively we don't need to do better, because we do. Men, step your game up, man. You know, if the mother is making things difficult, in a sense, tough, because the child didn't ask to be born, and if you didn't wear your boots, then you got a responsibility. At the same time, mothers, make it easy on us, just a little bit. Yeah.
If actually there has been no agreement and nothing can be agreed, is to apply to the family courts.
Yeah.
And then there's a organisation of social workers called CAFCAS, which writes a report on what's best for the children. This is oversimplifying it slightly, and that is when it comes up, because the parent, or sometimes the children, say, or the parent says, the children don't want to see him. I'll use these as him and her. It can be the other way around.
Yeah, yeah.
And if the father gets control, he can behave in exactly the same
That's
way,
right. Yeah.
and practically quite commonly does. So that is where it comes in, that the CAFCAS report to the court, that the children say that they don't want to see the parent that they don't mainly live with. And that's when it comes up.
Okay.
And then, of course, there is very often a contested hearing, like any other court case, except, of course, it's a civil case, not a criminal case. Each side presents their arguments, and the judge rules on what the parenting arrangement should be.
So that contesting case would be basically that part 2 to when the mediation failed.
When mediation has failed. You can't get to a hearing unless you are either exempt from mediation, which sometimes happens when there are allegations of abuse, or mediation has failed.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you. And how long does it roughly take for the whole process, that process from beginning to end?
This is the very big issue, because it is never less than months and can be years, and court proceedings are much easier to delay and postpone than they are to bring forward and have a quick decision. And this is often features in alienation because during that time the children are usually with one parent, and she's the one that the children need to please, and she's in a position to influence the children, to coach the children in extreme cases, but to cause them to pick up that she doesn't want the children to see her ex-partner.
And then roughly, how much does it cost as well? Because obviously each stage you got to pay. There's another point, but how much would that roughly cost?
It's about £265 to make a court application.
Okay.
If you go through mediation first, it's usually the order of about £100 to have to be assessed for it, and then there is a voucher for £500 of free mediation. This is until while stocks last. It don't necessarily continue, but so far there's always been another dollar per money.
Got you.
Filled it in. The cost of you can represent yourself in court. You can hire a solicitor, which is seriously expensive, or sometimes you can go in with somebody who is a Mackenzie friend, the term is, who cannot speak to the court, but can help with papers and brief people and advise them about what procedure and so on.
And is Mackenzie a friend? Is that only for family courts or?
Elsewhere, they're often called lay advocates who have the same rights. They can stand behind, help and support and advise, but they don't have any right to speak in the court.
Okay, that makes sense. We'll go on the next one then. Do you believe family courts? Does that experience happen?
This certainly happens, and the answer, frankly, is not a lot. They can, if they have lost a court hearing, if they want to change that, they have to appeal, which is difficult and has to do with the time frame, or they have to start again at the beginning, which is long and complicated. It is, in the view of the charity I'm involved in, a monstrous injustice to children that it is so easy for one parent to exclude the other and so hard to undo. But it's unfortunately a fact.
Yeah. I hear you, thank you. Anything else you want to add to that one there?
No, I think I would want to say is that most parents of whom this happens think it's only them and they feel all alone and helpless. And one thing they can do is to get involved with my charity, to learn that it's not an individual or private problem, it is a social problem that requires social change and legal reform to remedy. And they get a lot out of it through feeling less lonely. And as I did all those years ago, it helped me and it helps them to join an organisation that is trying to change things. We've just had an impact report on the effect of our charity on people who come to us. A staggering 41% of them have had suicidal thoughts. And involvement with us, there's no easy way of measuring it, but it turned the dial in the positive direction very, very radically. So come to us, get support, feel less lonely, and realize it's not just you and your children, it's a social problem.
Tell them the name of your charity. So they know.
The charity is Both Parents Matter. We've existed for now slightly over 50 years. We are a conventional constitutional charity that before the austerity economies got a government grant. We no longer do. We're dependent entirely now on fundraising and membership. So please join us. Please donate and do your little bit to change the situation. And like all charities, our first task is personal support, social work activity. Our second task is to prevent the problem arising in source. And we compare ourselves in some ways to a cholera outbreak. You have to treat the people who've got cholera, but you also have to have a clean water supply. And both of them are interdependent.
Isn't about parents winning or losing. It's about protecting children from being used as pawns. It's about their right to love and to be loved by both sides of their family.